California has long been seen as a blue fortress, a place where Democrats don't have to sweat too much because the majority of voters default to blue, vote blue, and live in blue. But in the summer of 2025, this state, usually busy talking about Hollywood, startups, and wildfires, suddenly popped up on the national political radar with a Netflix-worthy drama. Gavin Newsom decided to launch a map campaign to strike back at Donald Trump and his Republican allies in Texas. Sounds dry, like bureaucratic redistricting. But the stakes are cinematic. Fighting over every seat in Congress, maneuvering for 2028, and of course, a Trump-Newsom shouting match in the spotlight. Here's the setup. Texas, under Republican hands, has just redrawn its electoral map, cleverly shifting lines to squeeze out at least 5 extra red seats. Trump and his allies see this as a strategic jackpot to seize back the House in 2026 and shore up their power ahead of 2028. That's when Newsom, California's governor, often whispered about as a potential presidential contender, suddenly declared, if Texas plays that game, California won't just sit back. They take 5 seats, we'll take 5 seats. Fair's fair.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To all of the leaders that are assembled here today, thank you for an outstanding job. Thank you for your faith and devotion to this larger cause, democracy that I think should unite all of us, regardless of our political party and political stripes. Let me just briefly reinforce, because I'm eager to sign a bill that no other governor in U.S. history has ever signed, a bill that will put the maps in front of the voters. We will be the first state in U.S. history to, in the most democratic way, submit to the people of our state the ability to determine their own maps. That simply has not been done. But I want to first just briefly back up and pick up a little bit on what the Speaker and the Pro Tem said.
It sounds like 2 kids fighting over toys. You draw, I draw. But in reality, it's a political gamble of the highest order. Why? Because since 2010, California has proudly had an independent commission to handle redistricting, meant to prevent gerrymandering, those sneaky partisan map cuts. It was hailed as a model, California the poster child of fair play democracy. Now, Newsom wants to break the rule, shelve that golden principle, and toss the maps into a referendum to give Democrats more seats. Overnight, from Guardian of Fairness, he risks being branded just as dirty as the other guy. And that other guy is Trump, who will gleefully exploit every inch of it. Trump, unsurprisingly, pounced. He blasted out on Truth Social with his trademark flair. Newsom wants to steal democracy with maps. It's the California scam.
$75 billion in the bill that was just signed to reinforce the ranks of ICE, Homeland Security, for what is increasingly becoming self-evident to anyone with eyes wide open and any level of objectivity, a private army for Donald Trump, owing an oath only to him, not the Constitution of the United States. You just heard from the Speaker that vote-in-mail ballots are being threatened by the President of the United States. 80% of Californians, no coincidence, 80% submitted their ballots in the last election, 86% in 2022, 88 in 2020.
This place up. And it's a combination of every bad left-wing idea. So it's out of control taxes, it's out of control regulations, it's out of control lawsuits. You try to start a business, you'll get sued like crazy. Your house gets burned down in a fire, you can't rebuild the house, you can't afford it. You couldn't get insurance because the lawsuits are so bad there, no one would insure your house to begin with. And you know what? Before your house burned down, you had people breaking in and robbing it because the police there won't prosecute criminals. They won't lock up someone who attacks you. Their view is abolish the police. Their view is let the criminals go. And that's not to mention the illegals that Gavin Newsom is inviting in. If you're an illegal alien, come to California. If you're a Venezuelan gang member, come to California. If you're a murderer or rapist, Gavin Newsom wants you to come to California. And the double standard, look, I get how Hollywood gazillionaires can live in opulence along the Pacific Ocean. But it is incredibly hard for working men and women. If you're a cop in California, if you're a teacher in California, if you're an electrician in California.
His fans cheered with the hashtag #NackerStopTheStealMap, turning Twitter and Facebook into a non-stop shouting stage. Newsom shot back, "This isn't theft, it's self-defense. Texas fired first, we're just shooting back." The analogy was both funny and dangerous. American politics morphing into a cowboy shootout, where electoral maps are the pistols. Here's the kicker. Just days after launching the MAP campaign, Newsom raised a whopping $6.2 million. How? With a very 2025 trick, dropping a trolling video of Trump online. The clip showed Trump ranting at a rally, dubbed over with cartoonish horns and the big, bold caption, "Map Thief." The internet howled with laughter, and donations poured into Newsom's campaign. Proof that in the TikTok x Instagram era, one well-aimed meme can be worth more than a dozen fiery speeches. But here's the big question. Is this smart politics? On the one hand, it shows Newsom isn't just playing defense, he's swinging back. That thrills plenty of Democrats who are sick of taking the high road and losing. On the other hand, breaking the independent commission sets a dangerous precedent. Today, California redraws for blue seats, tomorrow, Texas, Florida, Missouri. Redraw for red. And so begins an endless cycle of map retaliation, twisting Congress into a funhouse mirror and eroding public faith in democracy. For Newsom, personally, the risk is even bigger. He's viewed as a potential backup nominee for 2028, if Kamala Harris falters or if Democrats crave a new face. But if this stunt fails, if Californians reject it at the polls or courts strike it down, his reputation could evaporate. Instead of rising as the Trump slayer, he could be painted as a power-hungry hypocrite.
It is really tough to make ends meet, and there's a reason the people of California are fleeing. They are fleeing and coming to Texas. One of my favorite statistics, Sean, the cost of a one-way U-Haul from California to Texas is more than 300% the cost of a U-Haul going the other way around, because they're all going one way. They ain't going the other, and I'll give you an even more stunning statistic. The cost of a one-way U-Haul from Silicon Valley to Austin, Texas, is more than 500% the cost of a U-Haul going the other way, because no one's going the other way.
Because you're doing U-Haul a favor. If you're going from Texas to California, you are actually doing U-Haul a favor by getting that vehicle or that trailer back to California for more people to even exit. What do you make of the fact the Democratic Party is such an identity crisis? They're paying tens of millions of dollars how to communicate with men. You see these different iterations, if you will, of Gavin, Gavin the podcaster, sitting down with Bannon and Charlie Kirk. Then it's Gavin trying to be Donald Trump. What you don't see is Gavin lowering crime rates. You don't see Gavin fixing his broken schools. You don't see Gavin helping the people in Pacific Palisades. You don't see Gavin, out there rolling up his sleeves and getting the job done. And I don't know, maybe he thinks this is going to work. Maybe that'll rile up the base of the Democratic Party that's radicalized, but that's not going to sell. America does not want to be California, especially in its current condition.
Betraying the very principles his state once championed. Republicans, of course, wasted no time. They instantly branded the move Gavin Mander. Catchy, mocking, perfect for Fox News chyrons. Talk shows ran with it. Newsom, California's new dictator. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger, the ex-governor who proudly created the Independent Commission in 2010, piped up with a stern warning. Once you open the door to politics and redistricting, it's almost impossible to shut it. We need to compete with ideas, not carve up lines with scalpels. Moderates nodded. Republicans cheered like it was Christmas. But Newsom isn't naive. He knows the attacks are coming, yet he's betting California voters, who loathe Trump, will prefer a punchback over passivity. He's framing this as a referendum not just on maps, but on the state's attitude toward Trump and GOP gerrymandering. If he wins, he can triumphantly declare, California stood up for democracy. If he loses, well, at least he tried. Politics, after all, is poker. Either you hit the jackpot or you walk away broke. The saga is only beginning, but the buzz is already deafening. Headlines call it California's risky revenge map. Voters are split. Some say, damn right, fight back. Others worry, this kills trust in democracy. And as the nation watches, the Trump-Newsom feud unfolds not in a debate hall, but right there, on California's electoral map. If in Part 1 we saw Gavin Newsom launch his map strike as self-defense against Texas, then Part 2 is all about the ripple effects. Republicans, moderate Democrats, and even political heavyweights like Arnold Schwarzenegger all diving headfirst into a bare-knuckle brawl over what fair democracy really means. The moment Newsom unveiled his plan, Twitter, X, exploded with the hashtag #GavinMander, a snarky pun turning gerrymander into Gavin Mander. California Republicans were giddy. They hadn't had much to cheer about in this deep blue state for years, and suddenly Newsom had handed them a golden cudgel.
All right, joining us now, Texas Senator Ted Cruz. You know, I'd love to do another debate with Gavin Newsom and Governor DeSantis, my governor, or maybe if maybe you should debate Gavin Newsom. I think we should all have the conversation publicly. If he wants to act like Donald Trump, let's see if he can pull it off.
Overnight, conservative talk shows were portraying him as a hypocrite. The guy who once preached fair play now sneaking around at night with a blue pencil to redraw lines. Morning, fairness. Evening, map carving. It wrote itself. And it wasn't just Republicans rolling their eyes. Some moderate Democrats groaned too. One anonymous senator sighed to Politico. If today we justify this as payback against Texas, then tomorrow Florida, Missouri, Indiana will use the same excuse. The cycle of revenge maps will never end. Translation: Newsom just cracked open Pandora's box, and once open, good luck closing it again. Then came Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator turned cautionary dad. He penned a long op-ed in the Washington Post, warning that this decision could shatter the credibility California had built over the past decade. He reminded readers of 2010 when he fought to establish the Independent Commission, making California the poster child of fair redistricting. To Arnold, Newsom's move was like taking a hammer to smash the golden statue California had proudly erected. And because Arnold is one of those rare figures respected across the aisle, his warning couldn't just be brushed aside. Newsom's response? A smirk and another viral clip. This time, he mocked up Trump standing over a Texas map with the caption, "Cheaters gonna cheat," set to an old-school rap beat. The video went viral. The donations kept flooding in. In Newsom's mind, modern politics is memes and money. Whoever trolls better raises more cash. And he's betting that California voters who despised Trump will happily overlook the Independent Commission betrayal just to cheer the counterpunch. Strategically, Newsom seems to be playing a two-step game. Step 1. Claw 5 new Democratic seats in the House, undercutting Texas's fresh red advantage. Step 2. Rebrand himself as the politician with guts, the guy who fights fire with fire, the image progressive voters crave in a future presidential contender. With Kamala Harris often dismissed as bland, Newsom wants to prove he's got the edge, the firepower, to take on Trump in 2028. But the risks are massive. If California voters reject the plan in November's referendum, Newsom becomes a national punchline, the governor who tried to game the system and got smacked down by his own people. And lawsuits are already locked and loaded, critics preparing to challenge it in state and federal court. One federal judge could shut the whole thing down, leaving Newsom standing at a podium, awkwardly explaining himself like a kid caught cheating on a test. For Trump, this is Christmas in August. He's been branding Democrats as cheaters for years, crying, "Steal the election" at every opportunity. Now, Newsom has given him a gift-wrapped prop. At rallies, Trump bellows, "California is stealing America with maps. We won't let them do it." MAGA crowds roar. Fox News rolls out flashy Gavin Mander graphics, and Trump himself munches fried chicken while laughing into the cameras. Meanwhile, in California, voters are split right down the middle. Half say, "Damn right, don't let Texas push us around." The other half mutter, "This is shooting ourselves in the foot." Polls show support barely over 50%, meaning it could flip fast if the opposition ramps up. That's why the media has dubbed it the risky revenge map.